Greetings, it's the Creator, back in action. Get ready for a weekly dive into the extraordinary. Every Sunday, I'll be your guide through the most gripping events in the world of mysteries. Tune in and join me as we navigate the top of the list. Make sure to subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell.
All over the world, there are haunted dolls, lurking in museums or on the shelf in children's bedrooms. They are always watching, and according to some, they are even moving. Here, we unfold the haunted tales behind the most famous haunted dolls out there. The 11 most haunted dolls in the world. Sit back and relax. Don't forget to subscribe to make the channel grow. Let's start with number 11, the Okiku doll. Japan has some of the world's scariest doll stories which are based on real-life events. Okiku is a haunted Japanese doll that was once owned by a young girl called Okiku. It was a gift from her brother. The doll has a traditional appearance. She is neatly dressed in a kimono and has long black hair. Some years after the doll appeared, Okiku sadly died. The family were convinced that the doll held Okiku's spirit. Especially after the doll began to move by itself, they even noticed her hair getting longer. At number 10, Peggy. The doll who gives you chest pain. Jane Harris is a leading paranormal investigator in England, who deals almost exclusively with dolls that are haunted. One day Jane received a package and a letter in the mail. The package contained a blonde-haired doll. In the note, a woman said the doll's name was Peggy and that she was haunted. Jane began a case study on the doll, and posted many photos and disturbing videos of Peggy online. Soon she began to receive letters and emails from people who saw the photos and videos and claimed that Peggy caused them to experience nausea and intense migraines. One unfortunate woman even suffered from a heart attack after looking at a photo of Peggy. Mediums have reported that the spirit of someone who died in the Holocaust dwells within the doll. Number 9. The Jamesville doll. The Jamesville doll sits in the window of an old home, overlooking the community. During the 1970s, a man lived by himself in Jamesville, Minnesota. There was a small square window in the attic that faced the street. In 1976, the man took a porcelain doll and placed it in the window. Children noticed the doll in the attic window and became weary of it, claiming its expression would change. Over time, the entire town of Jamesville believed the doll to be haunted. Some theorized that the man once had a daughter who he murdered. Afterward, he deeply regretted his decision and placed the doll in the window as a memorial to her. Folks believed her spirit had transferred itself into the doll. Nobody is quite sure why the doll was placed by the window on that fateful day, which further lends to creepy stories and legends. The truth behind the doll, and its paranormal abilities, may never be known. Number 8. Mandy, the crying doll. Mandy is a haunted doll that allegedly cries. In 1991, the Quesnel and District Museum received an anonymous donation in the form of an antiquated baby doll. Mandy is famous in Canada. She is currently being held in British Columbia, displayed at the Quesnel Museum. The doll has a cracked face and a slight smirk which is particularly evil. She is displayed upright within a glass box, holding a small toy lamb. She has a gaze that falls on you no matter where you are standing in the room. Previous owners have claimed to hear crying noises during the night. The museum workers have also reported strange activity, including the lamb being found outside the box. The donor informed them that she could no longer endure hearing the doll cry in the middle of the night. Puzzled, the museum curators included the doll in one of their exhibits, against the local psychic's advice. Soon, visitors began to claim they heard disembodied footsteps in the room where Mandy was kept. Anytime someone attempted to photograph the doll, their cameras would malfunction. Even creepier is the fact that when Mandy has been placed in the same cases as other dolls, the other dolls become damaged and on the floor of the display case. Number 7. Pulau Ubin. The haunted Barbie. There is a very deep meaning behind this doll. It was made in memory of a young girl who fell from a cliff in Pulau Ubin, Singapore. The local townspeople built a shrine for the little girl near the cliffside. The story is that she had escaped British soldiers who captured her parents, as they were believed to be spies. The doll is a porcelain Barbie doll. It is told that the spirit of the young girl is held within the doll. There is an annual ceremony in Pulau Ubin, and visitors often bring offerings in the hope that they will receive good blessings. An Australian man began having dreams of a dead German girl who guided the man to the local toy store. Once there, she pointed to a Barbie doll in the display window. The man had this dream 3 nights in a row and was convinced it was the German girl from Singapore. He went to a toy store and bought the very doll the girl had pointed to, and took it to the girl's shrine. Now, hundreds of people believe the soul of the German girl now lives in the Barbie. Number 6. The Italian doll. The haunted Italian doll has been on display, but you should avoid it at all costs. During the 1920s, a little girl in Italy received a doll. The doll was primarily made of felt, but had a head covered in real human hair. The girl became inseparable from the doll immediately. She named her Pupa and prized her above all other possessions. As the girl spent more time with Pupa, she began to insist that the doll was alive and would often speak to her. The girl grew to be a woman and kept the doll until her death in 2005. Her family kept Pupa and placed her in a glass case as a tribute to the woman. The family has said that Pupa does not like to be confined and can be heard knocking on the glass at night. Occasionally she likes to sneak out and roam around the house as well. Number 5. Joliet, the cursed doll. The haunted doll of Joliet draws plenty of attention from thrill seekers and the downright foolish. Many years ago, a woman discovered she and her husband were going to have a baby. Delighted by her good fortune, she shared the news with her best friend. That friend had been trying to have a baby for a long time, and was intensely jealous. The friend acquired a doll with a terrible curse and gave it to the pregnant woman as a gift. 9 months later, the woman gave birth to a healthy baby boy, who mysteriously died 3 days later. After the death of her son, the woman began to hear her baby's cries emanating from the doll. A few years later, the woman had a baby girl, who grew up and acquired the doll. Her son also died 3 days after being born. For 4 generations the women in the family all had sons who died on the 3rd day of life, and each could hear the sounds of their crying babies come from the doll. Number 4. The dolls of Satan. These are a more modern take on the traditional New Orleans dolls of the devil. During the 1800s many affluent families lived in New Orleans. One of those families had a daughter who was ready for marriage. The young woman had had a secret affair with a boy in town, but was arranged to wed a wealthy Scotsman. When her lover found out, he sought the help of voodoo queen Marie Laveau. The girl was married and soon became pregnant. But she did not give birth to an ordinary baby. Instead, she gave birth to a grotesque, deformed monstrosity everybody believed to be the spawn of the devil. The good people of New Orleans began to believe that the baby would wander the city at night and attack anyone in the streets. Some began to believe that by carving a likeness of the baby into a gourd and leaving it on the porch would protect him from Satan's child. To this day, the devil gourd dolls are still made. Many believe they are still cursed objects, courtesy of Marie Laveau. Number 3. The real Annabelle doll. Annabelle might be the most famous haunted doll in the world. Many horror fans know about Annabelle from The Conjuring, and the movie that was made about her a few years later. But the story of the real Annabelle doll is quite different. In 1970, a young woman named Donna received a Raggedy Ann doll from her mother. She kept the doll around her apartment. Soon, Donna and her roommate, Angie, began to notice that the doll would often change position or be in a different room altogether. The girls decided to call a psychic who told them a girl named Annabelle once died in their apartment complex. Saddened by the story, the girls invited Annabelle's spirit to fully transfer itself into the doll. The doll then began to emit a blood-like substance from its hands. It even attempted to strangle one of their friends. Today, Annabelle lives at Ed and Lorraine Warren's Occult Museum. Number 2. The doll in the abandoned house. Kerry Walton grew up in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. There was an abandoned house on the street that Kerry and his friends all believed to be haunted. After Kerry grew up and moved away, he decided to visit his hometown and the abandoned house. Hidden underneath the floorboards he discovered a historic marionette doll. Intrigued, Kerry put the doll in his car and began to drive home. During the drive he heard the doll cry out, "Let me out," and decided to call it Letta. After Kerry brought Letta home, people would scream and grow extremely uncomfortable in the presence of the doll. They started making appearances on television shows, and one cameraman insisted that the doll turned his head to look at him. Kerry still has Letta, and has gone on several Australian television shows with what is now considered one of the most evil dolls in existence. Before we end this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, help this channel grow. The TOTL, top of the list. At number 1, Robert the Doll. Robert the Doll resides in Florida, and some who visit it seem to regret it soon after. Robert the Doll is considered one of the most haunted dolls in the world. In 1904, a boy named Robert Eugene Otto received a doll from the family's maid. Robert, who went by the name Eugene, decided to call the doll Robert. Not long after he got the doll, Eugene told his parents the doll destroyed his other toys and would knock furniture over during the night. When Eugene became an adult, he moved out of the house and left Robert behind. The house was converted into a bed and breakfast, and the owners said they heard Robert moving around at night, and he would often laugh to himself. Today, Robert the Doll lives at the Fort East Martello Museum. Rumor has it that the staff routinely received letters of apology written to Robert by those who acted rude around him when they visited the museum.